Are we here?
We
We're good?
are here.
Okay. All right. Welcome to Sew Together Tuesday. I'm Teresa Coates. I'm the National Educator for Shannon Fabrics, and we are here again. So we are now in Wisconsin. We've made our way a little way along this tour. We'll talk more about the tour at the end so you can find us. What's happening, Hawk?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Everything's good.
That face was scaring me a little. I was worried. Anyway, we're on tour. We were in Illinois last week.
Do we have resting panic face?
Yes, resting panic face. We're in Wisconsin this week with Patchworks in Elm Grove, which is just west of Milwaukee. I think I got that right. Okay. All right. So come on in. So this is Julie. She's the owner. So this is at least my third time here that I have come and because I came and visited, and I think I've taught once or twice. So I've been here a couple times. I like this shop. Julie and I get along really well, so it's always really fun.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's really good. So I'm really happy that we're here. So tell me a little bit about your shop. We were talking about it yesterday. So how long have you been here?
Well, Frank and I have had the shop for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And the shop has been in Elm Grove for many, many more.
Oh, okay. So you bought it.
We did.
So it was a running quilt shop when you got it. Did you change it at all?
We kind of did.
Mm-hmm.
Quilting is evolving all
Yep.
of the time, and so brought in some bright modern fabrics.
There's a lot of bright modern here.
And
that's totally true.
Yeah. And also brought in the Cuddle that were coming in probably right when we were taking over.
Yeah.
So that was a huge change.
Oh, that's super cool. Because we've been around for 26 years. Is that right? I think so. I think a couple of years ago, year ago was our 25th anniversary. So so you came in not too long after we really had gotten some footing. That's awesome. So they do have a really nice selection. We're by the Halloween, so we can't really show you, but you can find all of it at patchworks.com, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the store used to be, you were telling me it used to be something before that.
So this building, oh my goodness, has been so crazy. It's been a gas station. It's been a law firm. It's been a upscale men's clothier.
Oh, wow.
And so it's kind of a Frankenstein of a building, which is super awesome because there's all these nooks and crannies that make it super unique.
That's what we were doing this. I discovered pathways in the back that I was like, wait, there's more. So there's plenty. She's got a big classroom space downstairs. You have a bunch of the Cuddle, obviously. She's also got some terry cloth and some gauze. So if you've been looking for those, you're like, where do I get them? This is where you get them.
Get them while they still last.
Right, exactly. So the project that we're working on today, we're working with June Tailor Products, which she told me is also a Wisconsin company, which is super cool. So you have a bunch of it.
We have a bunch of all of the June Tailor products.
Okay, cool. Good. Anything you want them to know about your shop?
We do a live every Thursday night. We call it Must Sew TV.
Oh, nice.
It's on our Facebook and YouTube channel.
Cool. Good. And they can subscribe to that?
Absolutely. Okay. And we are open for in-store shopping 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday.
Nice. Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Well,
and thanks for having us here.
Thank you for coming.
I'm really happy to be here again. It's great. Thanks. All right. So the project that we're working on today is with pre-printed batting, like I said, from June Tailor. So June Tailor, I didn't realize is a Wisconsin company till she told me. I was like, right here, this is the place. It was perfect alignment of projects. So I'm very happy about that. So let's show the project that we're working on. So I'm gonna pull it out, open it up, and show you what the finished result is. Okay, let's see if I can get this to get up there for you.
Oh,
all right.
You got it.
You got it? Okay. So this is the square in a square.
Oh,
here.
Wow.
It's the fun backing.
Look at that sparkle, multi-sparkle Cuddle.
Yeah, look at that. Woo. Okay.
Spooky.
Pretty cool. So we're doing a Halloween theme, which is why we're in the Halloween corner. So we're doing this project today. So what I want to do is I want to talk about this. We're not actually going to make a big, huge one. So we're going to make a small one, but I want to talk about what we're doing with this. So this is, like I said, a June Tailor batting. So let's see if we can get that to show. I'll let you worry about the sparkle stuff or the
reflection.
The reflection.
I'll make it happen.
Okay. So the way that this works is quilt as you go. So if you saw the title page for it, it said how to use QAYG batting, which is quilt as you go. So that's one of those sewing terms that you'll see sometimes in things. So if you don't know what it means, that's what it is quilt as you go. Okay, and we'll explain that more as we go. But this is the one that we worked with today. The batting is pre-printed, which is pretty cool. So it has already the design on it. I want to show you a couple of the others. So this is what this one is. Oh, this one is a little bit different. Do you see this one has these bands right here?
I'm coming back in.
I kicked those bands off on mine.
Got
Okay.
it.
I was like, I don't want those bands, so I wanted a square blanket. So that's what I did. So you have some flexibility with it, even though it's, you know, it says that. Okay, so there's that one that we're doing. I wanted to show you some of the other ones they have. This one is also one that is quilt as you go. So you're going to put these bands here in the middle and then build out. Okay. And those are actually Cuddle fabrics. Okay, so you can totally do this. This is their new one, which I really like, which is basically just a log cabin that builds out.
Okay.
Absolutely
that
doable.
one's a little rough. Let me see if I can help.
Oh, there we go. It's also dark, which
Yeah.
makes it a little harder to see.
Got it.
Okay, and then the stocking. So a bunch of these are totally doable. So the cool thing is we're using the batting.
That's cute.
We're also going to mix together Cuddle and cotton, which you can absolutely do in any of these projects. This is a great way to mix the fabrics without it getting kind of unwieldy. So if you've done any quilt making with Cuddle, sometimes sewing the Cuddle pieces together can be a little difficult because they're knit. You could back them with the Pellon, which makes them more stable. But this actually does the same sort of thing as the Quilt as you go kits that we have, which we call stitch and flip quilts. So those are all of our Cuddle strip quilts, are all that quilt as you go, stitch and flip, same idea. Okay, so it's that same way that it'll hold it a little bit more stable when you're doing this. You also get a little padding in there. So I will tell you, this is cotton batting. We're using it with Cuddle and with cotton today. Don't panic about it. Okay, it just makes it a little bit heavier in my opinion. The batting will shrink a little bit more, and it will shrink a little bit, and the polyester fabric does not shrink. It doesn't shrink enough that it causes any issue. So we used to really worry about it a lot more because they didn't treat the cotton fabrics as well as they treat them now so that they don't shrink. Flannel, I would still recommend that you pre-wash any flannel, even if you're mixing it with other cotton. Okay, because flannel, they haven't figured it out yet. It still shrinks a whole lot. All right, so we're using the June Tailor Quilt As You Go batting, and then we're using Andover Fabrics. They're Hocus Pocus. Little fat quarter tower. So this is part of it. They have a kit for this project that we're doing. So this is just the one I wanted to show you, all of these cute little prints that are in here. The stripes.
The shop.
The shop.
Patchworks.
Yeah.
Available
but this one has,
online.
This one has all of them. So if you wanted to get, you know, really creative, you could get all of the fabrics in there, all of these fabrics in there. Okay. Do you want to show them the stack of fabrics over there?
All of that.
So there's a variety. And Patchworks has the kits put together so you can make one just like mine. They also have 3 other variations, I think is what it is.
And all of the fabric back here is all Halloween fabric. Yep. So much fun in here right now.
Yep.
Love
it. So they have 3 other kits available with different fabric combinations for this same quilt batting. All right. Is that all clear as mud?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, and I forgot to say, share the video. We'll be entered to win. We'll give away a kit at the end. I don't know why I can't ever remember, but I can't.
You did. I didn't have to remind you.
You didn't. It just took me, 10 minutes in or so before I remembered. All right. So if you have any questions, make sure to pop them up in there, and Hawk will give me your questions, and I will answer them as well as I can. Before I put this away, I want to show you the, that's just the ID tag. Okay, so I want to show you what the differences are. So this is one of the Andover cottons. This is a cotton. This is a Cuddle over here. We can get to the binding.
Oh, yeah.
The backing is also the sparkle Cuddle. And then we've got the Cuddle here for the sparkle on the front. Cuddle, cotton, and Cuddle.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay, so it's all mixed up. What's really fun about it?
That print is, I got it. Cool.
It's pretty good, right?
Yep.
I like it. So what is fun about this is that you can mix these up, and they aren't perfect matches. So I will say that the purple and the purple here aren't perfect, but they're pretty darn close. And what I like is that you can mix up the texture and kind of get solid fabrics that are pretty darn close to what the prints are as well. So, and she's got those figured out for you for the other kits that she did, as well as these kits. She's got those all assembled for you with how much fabric you need and all that. And those are at patchwork.com. She has a special today too. So if you buy it today, it's discounted, I think, $10, which is pretty good. All right. Okay. I'm making a pile of quilt stuff back here. Don't look. All right. So let's talk about Quilt As You Go and what the heck is it? Okay, so when we're doing it with Cuddle, we just put the things down there and we pin them on and we sew them. With the June Tailor battings, they're pretty cool because they're actually drawn out first. So if you're like me, this, you might think that you didn't need to read the instructions for this. You do. Okay, you do. I've made a few mistakes along the way. I finally read the instructions with this last one and realized, like, oh, that's so much easier. They also have little videos on how to do them, which is great. So the way these are done is not the same as paper piecing. So if you are familiar with paper piecing, this will make sense. If you are not, it will not make quite as much sense. But paper piecing is very much the same sort of way. So this is just a little block from my Mirth quilt, and it has the same sort of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. The lines on here are sewing lines. The lines on the June Tailor batting are not, okay? They are alignment lines. They are to help you get the fabric in the right position. They're not sewing lines. So for me, that was the biggest difference because I was confused. We were talking about this yesterday, is that with paper piecing, I put the fabric on here. Let me see where my last seam is here. I put the fabric on this side. I sew it from this side. I flip it. I trim it. Okay, so that's the way paper piecing is done. And if you think that you're going to, if you're familiar with paper piecing, you might think that you're going to do the same thing here. You do not. Okay, it's totally different. It just looks similar. All right, so we'll explain it as we go, but just make sure that you realize that it's not, these aren't your sewing lines. It works differently than the paper piecing. All right, which was my first lesson because I couldn't figure out how I would see that from the other side and how would I line up the fabrics. It's because it doesn't work that way. So, so what we're going to do today is we're going to make a small version of this. We're going to walk through all of the steps. I'm going to make this little guy. Okay, I'm going to make this one so we can walk through all of the steps on how to do it without doing the big one because it's just too big. But they are actually super fast to do. So I've got all my pieces here. Okay. I'm going to put these aside. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our backing. So same that we would do for a Cuddle strip quilt, same idea. We've got our backing and our batting. We're going to put the backing onto the reverse side of it. Okay, right now it doesn't matter which way the quilt goes. If you're going to do this one, you want to make sure that your nap is going to go this way or this way, and you'll flip it, but it needs to go lengthwise.
Oh, because you're talking about if you added these end strips on to make a rectangle.
Correct.
You would want the nap to flow along
from top to bottom.
The long axis.
Right, exactly. We're going to try to keep our nap in check. If you're doing a square, it doesn't matter, but if you're doing a rectangle, it matters. Okay, so can you see where it ruffles up a little bit there?
Let me come down.
A little bit. You can see that.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, so this is one that has been, I think that they're heat set on here, the little sparkles. So it kind of flattens a little bit when it's first done. When you wash this, it'll kind of puff up a little, which is always interesting. But it means it's really kind of smooth here, and you can't feel the nap quite as much, but I can feel it a little bit. Okay, so you can see that.
We can definitely see it ruffling up.
All right, great.
On camera.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this back, and I'm going to put my parchment paper.
Can we talk about how awesome sparkle is?
Yeah.
Okay, can I
hot particularly love the sparkle.
It is not rough.
It is not.
It is not scratchy. It feels just like the regular Cuddle, and it is really, really fun. And it doesn't come off in the wash at all.
Yeah, it's great. I love this stuff.
It's shocking. It's definitely magic. Like you would look at it and think that it was going to be rough and scratchy, and why would you want that next to your skin? And you absolutely just can't tell at all, other than that it's pretty.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love the sparkle and the way that it like does the whole like shimmer, shimmer, shimmer. It's magical.
That was my sparkle commercial.
It was great. I love it. They actually have a few colors here, so there are, I think, how many colors are there in sparkle? Do you have any idea? There's about 10 colors in sparkle. So I know that there's like a blush with silver, and there's red with silver, and there's black with gold, I think, and there's a whole bunch of different ones. So if you go to the shannonfabrics.com website, you'll be able to see all the varieties. I think that here at Patchworks, I think they have 4 or 5 of them. So check them out. They're great.
All right, here comes a movie reference. I am committed to sparkle motion. See if anybody gets that.
Okay, I need to get this. I realized I have my selvage on there, and I need to get my selvage over a little, because you can see the sparkle doesn't go all the way to the selvage. Okay, so there it's just black. It's just like black C3 with sparkle on it. Okay, so I'm going to flip this around, and I'm going to spray base the other side. So I'm just using the O'Deef, my favorite kind, the O'Deef 505 spray. Okay, what we love about this, it doesn't stink.
That is absolutely true. Right here, inside, can't tell, and you're not using a ton of it anyway. You're barely hitting.
So if you're doing this in a big one, I will tell you one of the things that people do the most is they do this, and then it starts to stick to itself, and then they get really frustrated. So do this, the little swim thing, where you kind of go, oops, I got to get my hand under there. And you just push it up. Okay, works better than trying to grab corners and push it up. And then we have the little smack down, because that's what you need to do. It's one of the things that I have to talk about in class a lot, because people don't want to actually smack it down. They like lay it out, and they're like, perfect. Oh, it's not sticking. I'm like, you got to hit it. So don't be afraid to actually hit it a little. Okay, it does make it stick better. So that's what we're going to do. So now my nap is running this direction. All right, so I'm going to take my pen. My numbers are on there sideways now, and I don't care. Okay, and my nap is running this way. So that way, when I put my pieces on here, I can remember which way I'm supposed to put my nap. Whether or not I actually get them on there like that, well, we'll see. Okay, on mine, you can see I have a whole lot of chicken scratch. It looks like I've cut out these numbers because we're going to make a bigger center. This is what it's going to turn out like.
We're combining some of these squares into.
So this is what it's going to turn out like.
Got it.
Right. So I've combined some of them. This is the London Labyrinth, I think it's called. Yep, which they also have. So this one you do actual individual quilt squares and then put them together. Okay, so I'm just doing a small one so we can show how it goes, but you could absolutely do this the same way and put the whole thing together just like they show you, because it works really well.
The kits are for a full-size blanket, but we're
showing it on a small one.
A block.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
We're not going to talk about measurements. No confusing you.
Because in the pattern, this was my things like not reading instructions. I don't know if anybody else does this, but instructions are hard sometimes. So in the instructions, they show you how it's going to turn out, what each of these numbered squares are, and then it tells you the sizes to cut. So pay attention to that. They tell you which way to cut it. The way that it's laid out here is as if it were directional, just in case, and Cuddle is directional because of the nap. So just follow those instructions. That's exactly what I did, and it turned out great. So we'll do that same thing, but they'll give you the instruction or the measurements in the kit, and we're not going to use those measurements because we're doing a tiny one. All right, except for the first piece, and I have to cut a square for the center. So the center, I know how big my square is because I didn't the first time, right, Hawk? And
I wasn't going to bring it up.
And miscut it.
Look at me.
So this is a fun print. What is this one called, Matt? See, now he's going to panic.
Oh.
See, that's what he's here for. I don't remember what it's called. Let's read the end of it there. Can you read the end of that?
Oh.
Sorry, it's right over there. They've got a bolt of it.
All right. I'm coming in. We are.
It's probably Hocus Pocus.
Oh, it's Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. Okay.
Trick or Treat.
DC Trick or Treat. So digital cuddle is what that means. Digital cuddle trick or treat. So that's what this is. And I love this print for this particular project because it has all of these big prints on it, which makes it really fun to be able to cut up. So the other thing about this is that you can, because this square right here in my little one and in this big quilt is set on the points, you can actually cut it out on grain and have him be crooked, which is super fun. So that's what I'm going to do. You don't have to. You can totally turn it. The other one is turned, and it's okay. Okay, so it doesn't have to be on grain. I just think it's cool that I can. Okay, so I'm going to cut this one out. This one has to be, I'm going to tell you, it has to be a 6.5-inch square. So I'm going to try to find my middle. So this is how I do it. So I need a 6.5 inch. So I'm going to find the middle of that is 3 1/4, and I'm going to go over 3 1/4, and this is my center right here. All right, so that's what I need to find, and I'm going to kind of try to center where I want this, because he's too tall. If you see that, like he's, oops, wrong direction. He's 7 inches, so he's bigger than I need my whole square to be. So let's see. That'll give me, if it needs another, I want more up there. So I'm going to cut his feet right off.
He doesn't need his feet.
He doesn't need them.
He kind of needs his head, though.
And his head's cute. Okay, so on the bigger one, it's a larger square. This one's just a little guy. So this is where sometimes it's hard for people. You're like, you're just cutting a square right out of the middle. Like, I am. Look at me go. Okay, so let's see. Yeah.
Sacrificial.
So this is kind of the fun part, is you get to like fussy cut it and figure out exactly where you want it. Okay, I'm going to move his head up just a little more.
I love the phrase fussy cut. When you first told me that that's what this process was called, I was like, really? That's perfect.
It's such a perfect word for it. Okay. So I need 6.5 is what I'm trying to get to here. And this is when I really want one of those rulers. I can't remember. Do you know who makes the ones with the extra 1/2 inch? I think it's Creative Grids. Oof, I can't remember. Anyway, the ones that, what is it?
Quilter Select. Maybe.
Quilter Select, maybe. Yeah, the ones that have the extra 1/2 inch. That's what I need today. And mine doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside.
This is our little dude.
This is our little dude.
All right.
Okay, so that's going to be my middle square. So I'm going to give him a good shake. Get rid of the mess. You'll never know it even happened.
What mess?
I don't know. Oh, look, I cut him wrong. I meant to cut him the other direction. I totally forgot. So he would be this way.
Oh.
So you can.
Were,
I was going to, and then I totally was like,
him on the diamond?
I was.
I gotcha.
And then I totally forgot. Because I get excited and then I forget things. Okay.
It's all right. He's gonna match his lady
match the other one. Well, I could have put my whole quilt on point this way. That'll be great. All right, so I'm going to spray the back of this guy. Just a little bit of spray, and I'm going to get it in place. So these lines are my placement lines. Okay. And the truth is that I think he's closer to 1/4 inch smaller, but he's going to work just fine on here. I am going to go ahead and trim this bottom just so it will not visually distract me, because I want it to be basically on that line. So I'm kind of just aiming for this line up here is all I'm doing.
Okay. But that's basically going to end up inside of a seam allowance.
Oh, it totally will end up in the seam allowance, but I want to be able to put my next piece there.
Got it.
And actually be able to kind of see that line. Okay. All right. So let's see how that one is. That one need to be trimmed, maybe. I just want to see that blue line. We are going to use, so in the pattern, they have a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that's actually what we're going to use.
Oh.
So that is a little different. I'll show you how we're going to do that. Okay. Close enough. Right, if you wanted to do this with 1/2 inch seam allowances because it was easier for you, you would just you would have to add to your widths here, because you're going to take some of that out. So that requires math. We're not doing it.
I was told there would be no math.
There's no math today.
Okay.
Okay. I hate the math. All right, so this is how my little block is going. So the next step is going to be here, and I've got my little cotton piece. The cool thing about this, so people question whether you can mix cotton and Cuddle, and you totally can. It's not a problem. What I like to do is I like to put it on here, and then you're going to see that it kind of doesn't shift on it. Okay, it kind of works like those little felt board things that you would use like in kindergarten or Sunday school, and you'd have to put them on there and make a story. Yeah. It kind of works the same way, is that it sticks there. So I'm going to pin it because I'm not crazy. And so I am like, I'm not crazy. I'm going to pin this in place just a little bit. and I'm going to put it through all the layers. So
Hot.
that's the way that the Quilt As You Go works, is where we have our backing on here. It's stabilized. We're going to sew this, and it's going to sew through this layer, the batting, and the backing. All right?
Got it.
So we're just going to build this out the whole way, and it's actually super fast, so we're just going to build the whole thing out. All right? So come on around here.
All right.
I've got the machine set up, and I've got it at a 3.0 stitch length because that works really well for the Cuddle. I've got black thread in there because it's going to match. I will show you this really quick. So this is the one that I sewed with white thread, and you really can't tell until I get in here. Yeah, there's some white thread, but it's all white thread. You just can't really see it. So even if you sew it with the wrong color, it's fine. We are going to do it with black. The Bernina, yep, the 590 QE. Take my shoe off. 3.0 stitch length, polyester thread, 9014 stretch needle. All right, I've got my machine set up here a little bit differently. So I want to show you this. So my needle is moved over. I can move my needle. Most machines will let you do this. Okay. So I'm going to move it over because what I want to do is I want to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Well, a 1/4 inch seam allowance, one, I can't do it from this edge because my needle doesn't go far enough over. So if I do it normally, or if this is set at the middle, okay, here we go. Here's all the tools. Hold on, I gotta put my reading glasses on so I can see anything. Okay, so right here, this is my like central placement for the needle. If I put my needle here, my 1/4 inch seam is right here. What happens when I'm sewing Cuddle is this tends to flick up and get caught around here, which frustrates me. So I don't do it that way anymore. I scoot it over so that more of my fabric is underneath the little toe of the foot, and it doesn't let it catch around this as much. All right. So it doesn't necessarily have to do it, but I'm just going to show you how I do it because it's important for me. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my needle down very carefully so I can hit my 1/4 inch. Okay. And what I want is actually for this to be here. I want to move this over so it will hit my 1/4 inch. One more. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is get it so that my fabric will run right along the inside of this toe. So when I'm looking down, hold on, put my foot down. So when I look down, the edge of my fabric is going to be right here on the inside of here. You can see, maybe you can't really see, but there's a bunch of feed dogs that are under here that are going to catch that really nicely. Whereas if my fabric is over here, there's no feed dogs that are feeding the fabric through. So this will help it so it doesn't catch on the toe, and it also feeds through the machine better. Okay. Was that too much information?
No,
Okay,
that
great.
was great. The fact that if you don't do that, there's no feed dog over there is, I think, kind of the important part.
It's important because it really will make it more difficult to sew, and nobody needs that. This should be fun. Okay. Want to enjoy it. So what I'm looking at right now is where this fabric comes down. I should be able to see the edge. So I can see the line is right here. My cotton is on that. So I'm going to line up my cotton with the inside of that foot. Okay, so the edge is right there. Take my pin out. Oh, there was one other thing I changed. I forgot to tell you. Is I changed the presser foot pressure. So I made that go down a little bit, and I found that I often need to do that with the Bernina. That I have to adjust the pressure of the presser foot down. Okay, so I'm aiming for this line here. So this is my line, and I want that to go right on the inside of that foot. So I'm not really going to care how big my seam allowance is so much as I do just that it's in the right place. All right, so look at that. There we go. It's fairly close. I wobbled a little.
Blame it on the cameraman.
Shh, I will. Okay. All right.
I was pretty up in your business on that.
You were, yeah, right up here, looking at everything. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to spray the back of this. I'm going to flip this over. So the trick is, whenever you're using this, is kind of getting it to pull nice and flat. Okay, don't just flip it over because you see there's like a bump here. Okay, you'll get a pleat. And also, it doesn't go to the right place. So we want it, if I pull it right, it should go basically to that line across there. That's where I wobbled in my seam, so you can see it up here.
Oh, no.
See what you made me do?
Whoopsie.
Okay, so that was number 2. I'm going to go to number 3, which is over here. I'm going to do the same thing, pin it down.
So the numbers are the sequence in which you apply the pieces.
Correct.
Got
And
it.
you can see it works totally fine going with the Cuddle and the cotton together. It's not any big deal. Oops, sorry. My pins are too far away. All right, so I am double pinning just like we do normally for long seams. This is a pretty short seam and it sticks together pretty well, but I find that I can sew faster with less thinking about it if I put more pins in. So I just tend to pin a lot. All right, another seam. Let's do it again. Okay, so again, I'm going to line this up against that edge, that open hole in the foot. Oops. Okay, stitch forward, stitch backward a little. And we're just going to stitch right along here. All right, it works pretty darn well. And I can actually stitch fairly fast. It doesn't seem to shift very much. The Cuddle and the cotton actually play really, really nicely together, which is something that I've gotten a lot of questions about, is if you can combine the two. And I think, honestly, combining the two makes it a little bit more fun because you get just a whole different texture, and then your options are even bigger for what you want to put together.
If somebody wanted to not use spray, is there another, like a glue stick kind of product or something that might work with this, mostly because, especially the cotton? Or is there...
I don't know. They actually recommend using basting spray, is what June Tailor tells you to use too.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think any of the glue sticks wouldn't do what this does and holds it down so flat. So you'd end up trying to like kind of tack it along there, which might work. I'm not averse to someone trying it and telling me. But as far as I know, yeah, the basting spray is the easiest way of doing it.
So for the big quilt, does the kit have all of the pieces pre-cut in the right size?
No, it has the hunks of fabric that you will need for then you to subcut, basically.
Got it.
So the pieces are cut in the size that you need for the quilt, and then you'll have to subcut them into the right size for each of these. We'll deal with the squares, the triangles that are next. They're really actually pretty darn easy to do. The kits also come with the batting, all of the fabric for the front, as well as the backing and the binding. So I think they're $80 today. It's it's a good deal because it's basically everything that you need, except for, the pins, the basting spray, some of that sort of stuff, which you might have. And she does have all of that available online, which is great.
Hey, Christy, we see you. Saw you guys had a good day at the track the other day. Awesome.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut that. All right, and you can see kind of how big these stitches are. Totally fine here on the back. You can't see it at all because it's the black, like my nails.
Because you're so spooky.
I'm so spooky because it's Halloween. Well, it's going to be Halloween. See, we actually have time to make it, which is great. This is different than most holiday projects that I start. That I usually start at least like 24 hours before the holiday. And that's usually about the max, actually. 24 to 48 hours before a holiday, that's my ideal time to have an idea to make something for it. It's funny because when I originally asked Julie about it, and I was like, well, we could do a Halloween one. She was like, Halloween's my favorite holiday. I said, it could not be better then. So let's do this. We'll get it done in time. All right, one more. So you can see, so this one was the shortest one. This basically works, it's a log cabin. So I have my middle one, build onto it. This is the long one that goes across both ends. All right, you can also see that these ends are coming off. We're going to trim those later. All right, so one more of the cotton. I just love how well it sticks to itself. Well, it's not really itself. It's sticking to the Cuddle.
It's such a, I don't know, kind of a nice relief from the Cuddle fighting.
Yeah, there's no fight whatsoever. Like, you're like, all right, it's just easy. It just goes right together. All right. So now we're going to do one more. And again, I'm just starting at the end because these are going to overlap. So on the back, we might be able to see, but like the next seam will come here 1/4 of an inch across, and then it's going to intersect with these ones. So I do back stitch just a little at the beginning there. So I've been doing like just a couple little back stitches to secure it, but it will get secured again as it comes back around. So because you're building it, quilting it as you go, then the quilt lines will replace or not overlap each other. There we go, and then it does that fun little lock thing here for me. But now I remember that it does it. It does 4 little stitches and a cut. All right.
You're learning your machine.
I'm learning it. By the end of the season, I will have it all figured out. And hopefully, there was somebody who told me in a class recently that she'd gotten the same machine, so she was learning alongside with me, which made me feel better. We're gonna figure it out together. All right, same thing. Pitch it up. Okay, so there we've got our little frame. See how easy that was?
Mm-hmm.
Super easy, right? All right, so now the next part is the triangles that go into the corners. Okay, I'm taking him home. He is just so cute. Oh my goodness. Every once in a while, I'm kind of like struck by how cute they are. I'm like, he's adorable. I love it. Okay, so now we have squares that we're going to cut into triangles for the corners. So this is the only part that can get a little bit confusing. So we want to cut triangles to go here. This is a square that's cut apart, and this is a square that's cut apart.
Okay.
All right. And the way that we can do this is we can find, where's my arrow? I hid it. Oh, there it is. I totally put this on upside down. Isn't that great? See, that's what I was telling you guys. I just managed to do this. I'm like, do it this way, but not this time. Not this time.
I think it's because he's a dude.
Okay, so yeah, my nap is going exactly the opposite of what I want.
Yeah, he's contrary.
Jeez
Louise. It's not you.
It's not me, but we're going to make the nap all in the front go the same way. See, that way when it comes down this way, it'll match. That's what I was thinking, right? Okay.
Gosh.
So what I want is the nap to basically come the same direction that this is going. Yeah. Okay. So I want my nap to go smoothly this way, not that way.
This is going to be one of those, if you can't tell and you don't care.
That's right, exactly.
Who cares?
Okay, so if I pet my nap this direction, these two at the same time, these are going the same direction.
Got it.
Okay, so I want to cut this one in half here. Okay. So it will be this corner and that corner. Don't question me. I will question myself, and then we'll be in trouble.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. You're like, okay, if that's what you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was a bad tone on my part. Sorry. Like, that was not what I meant. I was probably reading at the same time.
Okay. So I'm just going to cut this in half and hope for the best. If it's wrong, we'll just use it on the other corners.
That's never a good idea.
Okay. So that's smooth, smooth. Now I want to do them in the opposite way. So this way, this way. So I'm going to lay this. I think that's it. It's interestingly stretchier than I expected it. Okay. Like the petting. I'm like, which way? It's so interesting. People always do this to me in class. They're like, which way is it? I'm like, I don't know. If you can't tell, it doesn't matter, right?
Yes, you know.
Okay. So my nap is going this way. So now I need this corner and this corner. This corner and this corner. Sometimes I have to do all the jobs. Just kidding. Sorry, I had to move the camera.
I might be embarrassed right now.
He was stuck down here. I was like, wait, wrong corners. So now I'm going to cut it so that it will match those corners. All right. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to have your two squares and you cut them opposite. So one will get cut this way, one will get cut this way. So if you cut them and you have two squares, just separate them, cut one this way, and then you'll have your matches. Okay. So now they go here. And here, look at that. It's going to be adorable, right? Okay, so now I'm going to do a little flick and get off some of the Cuddle dust. And then because I actually care about the nap just a little, I'm going to actually pin these in place so that they'll be where I want them to be when I come back to them. Because if I take these all off and then I have to rearrange and figure out which way the nap is, no, then I'll really not care at all. I'll be like, I'm over it. Okay, so one of the things that I found when I was doing it, because on the big guy, you have large triangles. I think the biggest ones are 15-inch squares that you cut in half. So they're pretty big triangles. And the only place that I found that I had some trouble was getting the point to line up so that when I sewed it, it accidentally came over here a couple of times. Does that make sense?
It does.
So like it was just a little bit off center. So one of the things that I figured out is that I could use my ruler. I could draw a line here, and that's where my half goes. So then I know it's centered. Okay.
Oh, got it.
The other thing you can do is get it lined up on a line here and have it intersect both points.
Got it.
Okay. So on the small ones like this, if it's off just a little bit, it doesn't matter. But on the larger ones, it was a little bit off, and I worked around it. It was fine. The other thing that you could do is cut your squares just a little bit bigger. So if it said, for example, 5.5, cut it at 16, or 15.5, cut it at 16. So it was a little bit bigger, then you just end up trimming more. It'll be fine. Okay, because if I have a bigger square, it's just going to fit past this a little bit more. Did that confuse?
Nope, no,
okay.
Not at all. No, I was I'm trying to
you were
work
reading.
I'm trying to work in a question.
Okay.
We're about to spray again.
We are?
Yes.
My nails are showing it. Look at that.
Oh yeah, is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Got it.
That's what that is.
It's a mess. If you overspray onto your nice cutting mat, what do you
Which
do?
never happens.
What do you do about that?
Hot soapy water will totally take it off.
Awesome.
Yeah. No big deal. You don't have to use any sort of weird cleaning agent. Just wash it off with hot soapy water. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. So here's where my line is. And I'm going to go ahead and backstitch here because that's where I'm going to cut it off. So if I backstitch way where I started, it wouldn't have made any difference. Okay. So this is the one I want to show you is look how much of my fabric comes underneath this foot and is held down here. Okay, it makes it much, much easier to sew. So if you can do that with your foot or with your needle and your foot is to bring your needle over and get more of your fabric underneath the actual foot. It'll make a big difference. And if you're using the clover pins that I like so much, they just slide right underneath. Okay, as long as your needle isn't going to hit it, we're good to go.
Another question about the basting spray.
Okay.
Does it get gummy on your needle?
No. So that's one of the great things about the OD that I like so much is that it doesn't build up. So some of the other sprays will really build up on your needle, and they make a titanium needle, I think, that Schmetz makes that will help kind of fight that off, make it slide off a little bit better. But this actually doesn't build up on your needle at all. No, it's great. Yeah. It's definitely a problem with some of the other sprays. Okay. Doing the same thing?
Yep.
Okay, the only thing we want to do with that is not pull it too hard because it's a knit and because it's on the bias. It'll have a little bit of extra stretch, so just don't yank it. Okay, just pull it over. There we go. This is going to need a good lint rollering. A little vacuum job. Okay, so
got it.
Turn this over again. Okay.
You are using the walking foot over there on the BERNINA, right?
Yes.
I thought so. Yep.
Yeah. So see, I can do this. Line this up on where the two meet. Here's my point. Here's my point. I lined that one up pretty good. That point right here. And these go right along the ruler, right along there.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that again. Take off some of the sticky.
So it does stick to fingernail polish, apparently, and fingertips.
It always does, yes.
It does do that.
Yeah, but if you go wash your hands with some soapy water, it comes right off. It's great. So not a big deal. Yeah, just don't do it straight after you paint your nails. I have found that if there's any tackiness to your nail polish, there is no getting it off with a wash. There is just taking your nail polish off. Yeah. All right. So again, I'm going to start up here.
I'm going to try a different angle on this seam. I'm going to see if we can get around back so we can actually see that walking foot. See what it feels like.
Yeah. So it's a question that we get a lot because the BERNINA has this guy right here. So this one is the even feed, which would come down and attach onto other feet and make it work as an even feed. And if you watched our summer short when we talked about how to sew with Cuddle, one of the things we did is we compared the BERNINA without the walking foot, with just the even feed, and a regular walking foot on a different machine, and the digital dual feed on a baby lock, and how they work differently. And the even feed, it basically uses that little part that comes down to kind of feed it through, which doesn't work as well as the walking foot. So the walking foot is an additional purchase on the BERNINA and well worth it for working with the Cuddle. It makes a huge difference. Well, that was a beautifully straight seam. I'm very happy with that one. We can show that one.
Right.
That one's nice. Sometimes they're not so straight. The great thing is you can't tell. Okay, so it creates this little web, and that's the part that is the sticky. So we just pull this up, pull it down, push it down. Okay, and these are my alignment lines, registration lines for when I cut it, to know where I want to cut it for that size square. So even if I've covered it up a little bit, I've got some room there to figure it out.
Got it. What is the finish size on this?
On this little square, I'm 12, I think. Yeah, because I think my ruler hit just about the end of it. So the quilt, let me see what that finish size was, because that was actually 40 by 50. It's what that one finishes if you do those two strips.
Got it. Or 40 by 40 if you don't.
Right, exactly.
Got
These
it.
are super cool too, because you can use these with any of the Cuddle strips that we have. So if you've bought any of those strip packs, this is a great great use for that too. And I know some people like won those in our giveaways. Oh, I forgot to tell them the National Sewing Month giveaway.
Yeah,
So September is National Sewing Month, and we are doing a big giveaway, and we have a couple of days left for you to enter. There's three $3,000 prizes, which is crazy to me. So you should definitely,
coming around to the
if you go to the blog, shannonfabrics.com/blog, sign up.
Hey, what's that thing in your right hand that you keep using?
This little stiletto.
Yeah.
You know I love this stiletto. So this is the Bianni stiletto, which just works really well to kind of hold things in place. I haven't kneaded it too much today, but it's kind of like my whoopee. Makes me feel better. I have a little more control over things.
Keeps your fingers out of the business end of the sewing machine.
It really does. Yeah, it keeps things away really nicely. All right. There we go. One more, and then we'll trim it up. And how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing all right. Good. So I'm going to show how to do the binding after this. Okay. One more little. So you can see, even though this is cut on the bias, I sewed it against cotton, against Cuddle with the batting. It didn't have any issues. It's sticky on that side. It doesn't have any issues. The batting and this whole method of putting it together makes it really just super simple to do. All right. Oh, I was wrong. We have one more.
Okay.
One more.
One more.
I think there's 5 corners on this square is what happened. Yeah. Whenever we do the self-biting blanket class, people are like, haven't I done all 4 corners? I'm like, there's 6 corners on this blanket. Sorry. Because it really does feel like it sometimes that you've gone through all of them, but there's still more. So interestingly, these, I have a whole mix of pins here, obviously. This one, the ones that I have, the box pins, so these are the heavyweights that come in the clover flower head pin box, the little clear box. These are the ones that work the best because I'm going through so many layers. So I've got 4 layers I'm sewing or pinning through. Sewing through 2, but pinning through 4 layers, they work better. So I will say that these guys are these are the ones that flip and are both colors. Okay. So they're the red and peachy ones.
Mm-hmm.
And those are a medium weight one, and they want to bend just a little bit more. So if you have a choice of pins to use, I would suggest you use the box ones.
And they're, I think, 0.7 or
Something like that.
0.75 millimeter
It's just
diameter.
it's a heavier shaft that's on here, so they stay straighter, and it's easier to get it through the fabric. Okay, we'll get to the edge. Do a little cut. All right, so this is how your whole quilt's going to go together if you're doing the big square and a square. I did mine in a couple of hours, and I would say the hardest part, okay, was just finding a place that I could lay it out flat. So just make sure that you've got a good table, your kitchen counter, you know, whatever you've got that's a big space, your floor. That's what I used was my floor. You can go ahead and lay it out on there and do all of this going back and forth because you sew, you spray, you pin, you sew it again, okay, and just follow the numbers. I didn't have to follow the numbers so much on here, but you will on yours. Okay, all right. So there we go. Look at that. Now we're just going to trim it up. We just use the lines. If you have a longer ruler, that'd be a great thing to have right now. But you know, I've just got my little one.
And you're just lining up on these little registration marks.
The little registration marks. And the same thing
so
is on the
easy.
big quilts too.
Got
Yep.
it.
So then I know exactly that's, like on the quilt, that would be my 40 by 50 line. Okay. And the easiest thing for me to do is to twist it and twist it. If you're at home and you have it on a table that you can kind of work around the table, that's a great way of doing it too. Is not moving the fabric as much as you are just moving your body. This does make it pretty stable. So this whole like quilt as you go thing, I'll flip it over when we get to this last side. I'll probably give it a good shake first. All right. Let me give it a shake. Oops, one more little cut. Nope, one more. Dang it. I hate it when that happens.
Little blip.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, now I got cuddle dust everywhere. So make sure those are off. Okay. All right, so now here's this one. It's pretty cute. All right, and there's the quilting.
Oh, yum. I really love how that looks with the sparkle. Really
it looks really cool. So it's all quilted. At this point, if you wanted to, you could go back, and especially like for me, like we had the what do you call it? Not the long arm, the mid arm. So you had a little mid arm for a little while. This would be if you have one of those, or you're trying to learn how to do some free motion quilting on your machine. This would be a great opportunity to go back and kind of try a little bit in these places here. See what you can do, just practice a little bit. You don't need to add any more quilting, but I feel like projects like this are kind of a great place to do that practice, because often a big quilt is overwhelming for me, but that's really just me. All right, so now we're going to do some binding.
To practice on a full-size quilt.
It's a little nerve-wracking because if you mess up, this one you're like one block, it's fine.
Right, one block at a time.
So we're going to go ahead. I cut this a while ago. I wanted to make sure I did it the right way. So I did. So this should be 1 3/4 inch Cuddle 3. This is bright lime, I think, or something. It's a crazy bright color. I love it. It's like a highlighter green, but it kind of goes really well with his face. So we're going to use this as the binding for this little guy. Granted, this is a little one. You wouldn't normally bind something this small. You could. But this is exactly how you would bind it if you were doing a large quilt. Okay, so if you want to do the big guy here, this is the way you're going to do it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I want to make a tail. And I'm going to leave it here. And I'm going to pin it up here. This part is always the confusing part for people. I want to leave a hunk here.
Because you're starting at where you're going to end.
I want to start here. So I'm going to end here, but I'm going to start sewing down here.
Got it.
Okay, so I want to leave that tail that's going to be floppy the whole rest of the way. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stick a pin. So this is, let's see if I can find a place on my board where it shows. Here's the middle part. It has 1/2 inch marks. Okay, so this is a trick that a few people have used in classes that works really well for them, is that they'll stick a pin right here where the 1/2 inch is, because what we want to do is we want to sew to here and sew off the end. I generally don't pin my binding because it will move just a little bit, and I'm okay with that, as long as it's not stretching a bunch. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stick a clip on here. And this is one of these big Wonder clips. This is one of the jumbos. I love this guy because this comes in the pack of like all of them. So it has little bitty ones, normal ones, and then the big guys. All right. So I'm going to sew just this section. I'm going to stop where the pin is and sew off the corner. All right. This is when I need my stiletto again. There we go. We're not going to bind this whole thing, but I want to show you how to do it. If you want to watch a longer video about how to bind, there is one on YouTube. And if you look up, I think it's like basic binding techniques with Cuddle, or I don't know. I found it by looking for binding with Cuddle Teresa. That was how I found the video this morning. So you can definitely look for that, and that will help you find it, where we talk about the whole thing. So this, I want to switch my needle. I saw over like, oh, I wanted to sew it the same way I did before. I don't actually. I want to sew it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to move this over so it matches the side of my foot, and I'm going to move this back over to the middle. What I found is that that is kind of a scant half. So here's my 1/2 inch. Okay. So this is my 1/2 inch here.
Mm-hmm.
This line, you can probably barely see right here, is my 1/2. So if I put my foot or my fabric right against the side of my foot, it's a little scant, and that works really well. There are a few places that I get kind of picky with. That might be one of them. Okay, so I'm just going to keep that fabric right along there. I'm going to go ahead and use my stiletto, because this is when I really like it, to hold this in place till I get to that pin. Okay, and as I get close to the pin, I'll make sure I don't sew over it. Stop. I'm going to pivot my foot and sew off the corner. So now I'm aiming for this corner right here. So I'm just going to send that right off the front and aim for that. Come on, cut it. There we go. All right. Now, can you see there okay? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it so it comes out. So this part is something to pay attention, is that we're drawing this up this way. All right, and then I'm going to stick my stiletto down here along this edge, and I'm going to fold it back. So it's kind of a two-handed job there, so that it comes back along that line. Okay, this is important because it gives you that fold that's just before the raw edge. And then I'm going to pin it in position. Sorry.
We're fine.
Okay.
Again, mostly in the way.
But they get a good view that way. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick a couple of clips on here so that I can hold a little bit down. Some people will want to try to clip the whole thing. Don't do that. Just clip a little bit. It's going to move itself as you go. So now, this is important. Do not start at the pin. The pin is just holding it in place. We want to sew down the next side. So we're going to put it back in right along the edge. I'm going to put it forward just a little bit. Put my foot down and then back stitch. Okay, that works better than starting right up at the edge, because it just does.
Well, it keeps the fabric from kind of getting sucked into your feed dogs. Right
Exactly,
edge,
and it helps it from getting sucked in. The other thing is that it's really thick right there because of all the folds, so it tends to not want to move very quickly. So it'll kind of get bogged down underneath the walking foot, where it's a little bit easier if I back stitch and then go. So you can see I just shoved this forward. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of a poof right here. Okay, and that's because the fabric stretched just a little bit. I'm just going to let it stretch a little bit. It's fine. Okay, when I move these, I unclip completely and slide it down. I'm not going to stretch it because I can't actually hold that and kind of stretch the fabric. You see that stretch?
Right. That's
we don't want to do that.
And you can kind of tell that it's stretching quite a bit because the edge starts to curl, right?
Yes. And that's what we want to avoid. Okay. So we're just going to work our way down here. Okay. The same thing, so you would go ahead and you would mark it like an eyeball, a 1/2 inch, because I've seen it a lot at this point. Okay. I'm just going to work my way down here to the corner. Make sure I take my needle out before I get to it. Do the same thing. Lift, turn, rotate. Okay. I am going to finish this just so we can show how to combine the ends, because it's probably the biggest question I get. So we're just going to do the whole thing. It's a small square. Is everybody okay with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Somebody gets up and leaves. They're like, nope, I'm ready for lunch. Out. Okay, same idea. Holding it. Stick it back. I'm going to pin that so it stays where I want it to. And this is important, again, remember, to keep that fold where you can see it. What happens if you don't do that is you end up with a big pocket up there. And nobody wants a pocket.
I'm going to grab the stiletto. What she means is, like, you need to be able to still see this right here.
Yep.
If you can't see that, you're going to be
in trouble.
Got it.
Yep. So you want to keep that where I can see it. Slide it back under. Do it again. And just do it a few times. We're going to wonder where the 6th side is too when we get there. Like, it's so many corners. Okay. And I'm going to keep, I don't know, can you show me just a little bit? Because like what I do, like if I keep my face here and I'm looking straight onto the machine, I can't really see this edge very well. So when I sew, I kind of do this, which is a weird little thing, but I can see that edge. And that's really where my eyeballs are, is right here on this edge, and trying to make sure that it's where I want it to be. Okay. And then as I move these clips, I'm just going to make sure that the fabric stays along that edge and doesn't curl out, because what it wants to do is go that direction. So your binding will kind of want to just come off the side, and you got to force it not to. I said we're going to finish this, and you know what I didn't do? Measure to see if my binding was the right size. Let's see.
New chicken.
Oh, look. Oh, binding chicken. It's totally going to work. Okay. Whew. I was like, wait a second. Oh my gosh. We had just like 2 sides bound, and then it crosses over the top. Yeah. I could cut my block in half. Glad none of that had to happen.
So the binding is this binding is 1 3/4 inches.
1 3/4 inches.
And it was cut on the width of fabric?
With the fabric. That's right, because that gives it a little bit of stretch, because we do actually want it to have a little bit of stretch just to get around the corners better, and it's just easier. So I do the same thing with my cotton quilts as I do them all on the bias, so they have a little stretch. So that's the way, yeah, cut it with the fabric, 1 3/4 inches.
And how big is the binding going to be finished when it's finished?
A 1/2 inch.
1/2 inch. So 1 3/4 inch strip will make a 1/2 inch binding.
Yes.
Front and back.
Yes, because basically it's a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch. Then you actually have a 1/4 inch of play to get around that. Okay.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that extra 1/4 inch gives it so that it'll get around the thickness of the layers of Cuddle, because at this point we're going to have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers that'll have to go around. So it's a lot, at least the 4.
And right now you're not folding anything in half.
No.
Right now you're just sewing through the 1 layer of the binding fabric.
That's the difference between cotton binding and Cuddle binding, is that we don't double it up. So a lot of people have tried that. Don't do it. It's not worth it. So just make sure it's 1 layer, and it totally works. And we're going to keep it a raw edge. So I'll show you how that finishes, and it works totally fine. Like I said, we have a video about binding on Google. We are on YouTube. Sorry. We also have a booklet on our ShannonFabrics.com site. So if you go over there to the patterns and look for Cuddle binding, you'll find like a little pattern sheet that is all about how to bind, and it will go over all of these tips, and I think most everything I've just told you is in there. Okay, so that's a good resource. And then when you want to watch, watch me do it, here's your chance.
With Cuddle, Diane, I see your question. With Cuddle, she never folds it under to start. It's always like this, and you'll see how it finishes out. One of the great things about Cuddle is that you can sew the raw edge on the top stitch, which I'm getting ahead of her.
It works beautifully. So we're now at the last corner. This one is, because these edges are small, my tail is very close to the corner. That would normally not be the case. Normally you would center this in a side that was 40 inches long. But we're going to unpin this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pin in just the one layer, because this is where I want to stop. So I'm going to let this tail go and push it over there because I want to leave a good gap for myself. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this corner the exact same way that I did before. Bring this over, kind of pinch it down with my stiletto and bring it back. And if you saw me play with the corner last time, it's because I was trying to get these two edges even, because I want this all to be 90 degrees right here. So I want to make sure that's right. I'm going to pin this again. Stick it underneath here, and then I'm just going to sew that last little bit. Okay. And if my fabric has a little bit of trouble going at the first, this stiletto is really good for kind of moving it along. You just kind of stab it, make it go. Okay, so I'm going to get up here and do my lock stitch and cut it and bring it out. So now, here is the $1 million lesson. Okay, so this is a part that people always struggle with, and I say I'm going to get it right, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. Okay, so, sorry, a little bit of a reach there. All right, so the thing I want to do is get these two ends to combine. Okay, so I want these two to come together, and a lot of people want to just sew them like this. So those two edges here together and open up the seam. But when you do that, you end up having a lot of thickness here as you bring this around, and then you have more thickness on top of each other, and it doesn't work very well. So what we actually want to do is the same sort of binding like we would do with a cotton quilt at a bias. All right, so the first trick is that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut myself off my tail, because what I'm going to use is this width measurement. So truthfully, I could use my ruler and measure 1 3/4, but it's just as easy for me to use a piece of my tail here. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. I'm going to cut off that end, because what I want them to do is kind of overlap. And this is just an easier part for me if they lay on top of each other smoothly. Okay, so they're on top of each other. Here's my measurement, right? And I'm going to take, so this is my top one is coming from this side. So I'm going to measure that on the further side. Okay. And then on my bottom side, I want to measure on the further side of that. Okay. Does that make sense? So the distance between these two pins is the width of my binding.
Okay.
But I want to measure it so that this one is long and this one is a little bit longer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So if you cut them here, they don't hit each other. What you're trying to do is get an overlap that's 1 3/4 inches.
Got it.
Okay. Does that make sense? Did we get that? Okay.
What's going to happen next will probably help.
Okay. So that's the hardest part of the measurement. And then I always try to make sure that, yes, there is overlap right here. Okay. Because that's the part where if you mess that up, you're now in trouble. All right. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this off at the pin. If you have a hard time seeing the 90 degrees, just go ahead and use a ruler. Okay, because it's Cuddle, we don't have to be perfect, which is great, but we do want to be fairly accurate. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is we want to sew it so that these ends come together. This is where a lot of us mess up, is these, right? I hear laughs from the audience like, yep, that's where it gets messed up. And then it gets sewn the wrong way. So I want to pin it like I'm going to sew it, put it down. I'm like, yep, that's going to work. Okay. So for me, it's the bottom. Let's see if I can get this to stay. I always do it. It's like a 7. My ring's backwards. It's like a 7. You're going to put one this way, one this way. So one comes this way, this one goes on top. And then we sew from top to bottom, like you're going to read. So you, okay, so top left to bottom right.
Okay.
That's how we're going to sew it. If you have any questions when you're doing it, pin it first, see if it works. All right, so now I'm going to repin this because it's Cuddle. I don't want to pin it exactly where I'm going to sew it. I need to repin that so that I can sew between the lines. The other thing I like to do is, because this corner is really easy to see, that corner down there at the bottom, not so easy to see. So I just stick a little pin right here. And that's what I'm aiming for, is that corner. Okay, so I'm going to sew from this corner to that corner.
Okay.
All right, so it seems kind of weird because it's 3 pins for one tiny little seam, but it works for me.
One of them is a guide. It's a target.
One is a target. Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in here. Use my little stiletto to get it underneath there. And again, I'm going to stick it past just a little bit. Put the foot down. Back stitch. Oops, I just hit the wrong button. No, just didn't wait long enough. Okay, there we go. Come on. All right, so now I'm going to sew across and hope that it keeps going. There we go. Okay, so I'm aiming for this right here. So I'm going to kind of shift this just a little. If you have a hard time seeing it, the other thing you can do is just draw the line. Sort of like we do a lot of times for the self-binding blanket. Just draw your sewing line right there. Okay, just don't get confused because we don't always do that. Okay. Okay, so now before I trim this, I'm going to lay it on here. This got caught just a little bit. I'm not going to care too much. Okay. If I really wanted to make it nice, I would redo that, but it'll be fine. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and trim that off because it does lay flat. If it doesn't, you can take it out and fix it, or, you know, put it on the bottom side and let it gather in. I'll show you what I mean there. So sometimes if it's just the tiniest bit too big, you can put it against the feed dogs and it will work itself in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew this the rest of the way. So you could sew this from the top too. You could absolutely sew it from over here. But this I found works really well if my binding is just the tiniest bit too big. Okay, and I'm going to make it match right over here. Cut my thread. All right, so there we go. Totally laid down. There is my finish. Okay, so at this point, then you're going to turn it around here and you're going to stitch this down. We'll just do one side of this because it'll be exactly the same the whole way. So this one, I want to see, I guess I'll use these ones. What I'm trying to do, I'm going to start up here actually so you guys can see it a little better, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up just past that black line that I stitched. Okay, sometimes I got to pull that, not hard, but you got to pull it over. And that's just the way it is. When it's here, it's a little harder for you to see. It's also just a little bit. Normally what I would do is I would start at the corner. So I might just sew it there and let you watch without being able to see a whole lot. But when we get to the middle, I'll point it out real good. Okay, because I always start up in a corner, work my way around, pivot at the corners, and come back. So you can do a couple of different things. Generally speaking, when you're doing your first Cuddle binding, I recommend the Luxe Cuddles just because they hide things more. But the Cuddle 3 is nice because it shows things more, so you can make kind of fancy stitches. So let's see if we can find... Does anybody know where serpentine is? I can't remember. Like I had it, oh, maybe I put it in my pocket. Let's see. Look at that, I did it. I saved it in the right place. Thank you, thank you. I feel like I just like unlocked a major achievement there. Like I knew you could save stitches and I'm so glad I did. So this is the serpentine up here, okay? I can't tell you what stitch number it is, unfortunately, but it is 4 wide and 2.5 long is what I've got. So let's see what that does.
So this is a big windy one. Got it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to manage to get this edge to come right along here because that's going to be the edge of my stitches. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my stiletto in this fabric. See how I have like pretty darn good control, and I'm just going to keep it where I want it to be, right along that edge. So here's another example. You can see the line needs to go just past it. So actually, if you come over on this side, Hawk, see if we can do this. Okay, so this is because this is what I'm looking at here. Is this line right there? That little stitching line?
Yep.
And I'm going to keep the fabric just past it. Okay, so if you want to do this and you don't want it to show, oops, sorry, all that much, then you would use a matching thread. I'm going to just let it shine by using black thread on it.
Coming around again.
Okay, I'm going to get this nice and flat. I'm going to go ahead and pin this down here again. And keep this where I want it to be. So it is a little harder to see on that black, but what that means is that you have more room to mess up and nobody will be able to tell. So enjoy. I can't see, Hawk. Thanks.
You're not the only one.
The camera. Sometimes you guys at home have a much better view than I do, which I think is funny. Okay, so then this is what I do is I go ahead and I cut my thread because I can't do that flip over there and get it to be neat. So some people can, and they always try to show me how, and I still can't nail it. So I just go ahead and I repin here, or I clip it here, and then I put a pin in here and try to nail down that corner.
Okay, a couple of questions. Yes, that is the raw edge. And it does not fray and it does not shed after you cut it the first time. So
right.
It's totally fine. We're going to get a nice close-up of what this finish looks like. And then the next question, is the left edge of the serpentine still on the binding or is it on the quilt front?
It is just onto the very edge. So
like maybe one stitch onto the quilt front.
Yep.
Got it.
Exactly. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and then just keep stitching.
And this serpentine stitch is really forgiving, way more forgiving than a straight stitch right about now.
Yes. So let's switch it real quick. We'll do a couple other stitches right here. Because yes, the straight stitch is one that a lot of people want to do. That's easy enough for me to flip back to. Okay, so here's my straight stitch, 3.0 stitch length. We're going to say it's going to move back over to the middle. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to line it up with that edge of my foot again. So you can see I use the edge of or the parts of my foot to keep my straight seams a lot. So I'm using this right here to keep that raw edge right along there. Pin that down and try to keep it fairly even. The thing that I have found with this one that's a little bit harder is because you can't really tell how wide your seam is. So hopefully it's getting straight and like consistently the same size. So let me switch it over to a zigzag. We'll show you what that looks like. So normally when I do a big zigzag on a binding, this is what I would do for a luxe cuddle. Okay, as I would use a 5 and a 5 binding, if I can get it to sit there.
If I could get it to focus on the screen instead of your reflection in the screen, that would be
there
great.
We go. Okay, so now we've got to add a 5 and 5 zigzag. And I'm going to go ahead and zigzag that to the end of the orange, just so we can see what that is. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and I'll clip this so we can see the differences between them.
Thanks for showing us the corner, by the way.
Mm-hmm. So this is, yeah, the corner is always confuses people. And I say don't try to get it all in one fell swoop. Just cut it and try again. You'll get a better finish because this is a nice corner. This is what the straight stitch looks like. Okay, and then this is the big zigzag. So the big zigzag is...
Can we get over here a little bit? I can get a little closer. Thanks.
Okay, so the straight stitch, it's fine. I just think it's not super cute. And if it's like there's nothing really to it. And if you don't get it perfectly straight, it's very obvious that you didn't get it straight. You can see that like even just the tiniest little bit that it started to go here is real obvious. So that's why I don't use the straight stitch really. This is the big zigzag, which works fine on the Cuddle 3, but this is absolutely what I recommend for the Luxe Cuddle. And yes, that's totally strong. I can come in here. You can't pull that up. Okay.
Got it.
So people always worry about the zigzag not being strong enough, and it absolutely is. So yep, that's just the raw edge. You're going to do that all the way around.
That was
A stiletto
dropping next to your foot.
Mm-hmm. My
Your
barefoot.
Barefoot. Sorry.
So this is the
dance with the serpentine.
Right, and that's what this is as well. So this is on the big finished quilt. I just did the serpentine all the way around. So I stitched it to the front. Let me switch it and you can see the back. And then the serpentine ends up on the Cuddle 3 binding as well, if you do it quote unquote right. But you can see, I mean, look at my corners really. That is not a great miter, all right? The quilt police are gonna be like, hey, sweetheart, you could do better. I'm like, I know, but it's fine. This one's really nice.
Nobody invited the quilt police.
No, like they don't belong here. This is soft. This is what we care about. Is it soft? Yes. Okay. So let me show you again. That's the way. If this is, oh, there's the witch. Okay. So that's the way this whole guy is going to go together. Just like that. We just did a small one to show you. Here's the little bitty one to show you that. Okay. So this quilt style could absolutely be done for that whole thing as well, if you wanted to. She has all of the different variations. Let me show you really quick before we head out. These are the other ones. So if you haven't looked online, here's the one that we did. And she's got these. Oh, there's 4 of them. Other variations. Okay, that she's got kits put together for you that include the batting,
fun.
the backing, the binding, and everything for the front. Okay. And again, the discount is only today, September 27th. Okay, thank you. September 27th. I'm totally sure of the date. Yes. So the sale price is only good today, but otherwise they'll be on the website. You can download, or not download them. You have to actually buy the fabric and ship it to you. We don't have print on demand fabric at home yet. When we get those printers, I'll be real excited. I just order it and print it out here at home. I don't have to ship it. It'll be amazing. All right. Were there any other questions we didn't get to? Were there any audience questions that you had here? Okay. All right. Then I think that's it. All right. Did we get everything?
So.
We should have a winner.
Well. Here we go.
So we should have a winner for a beginner box.
The beginner box winner is Rochelle Peters.
Yay.
From our YouTube viewership from Des Moines, Iowa.
Yay, congratulations. So get a hold of us. You can email us at info@shannonfabrics.com. So info@shannonfabrics.com, and send your mailing address, your phone number, all that good stuff. And then we will ship out a beginner box kit to you. It is really one of my favorite kits because it has 3 1-yard cuts of a solid, a print, and a luxe cuddle. And then it has patterns for 6 different projects inside of it. So you get all of these different projects that you can make and really learn how to work with Cuddle, which is super fun. And obviously you can do a million things with it. So there you go. So now you know you can combine quilt as you go batting and cotton and Cuddle and make super cute quilts. And really the varieties, even though she has five kits available, the variety is infinite. Like there's so many choices. All right. Are we ready? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Want everybody?
There we go.
All right.
Thank you, Teresa.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week. We are still on the road for the rest of the year. So you can join us. We will be at So Trendy up in Eagan, Minnesota. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We will be up there next week. And we'll be making a robe. So if you've been looking forward to the robe, we are excited. We have a new pattern that's coming out, and we'll be making that. It's a nice hooded robe with big, deep pockets. It's going to be great. So join us there. Don't forget to check out patchworks.com and check out all the tools and the patterns and the kits and everything she's got available for you there. All right. Until next time, happy sewing.